What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I want to talk about land and how it could potentially be the next SPS airdrop. And I'm not saying that from my own words. This is actually something that Matt had been asked in a previous town hall in terms of like how, what will be the next catalyst, like the next SPS airdrop that brings a bunch of people into the game. And he said land, right? Land 2. I don't know if he said land 2.0, but he just talked about land. Well, now that we have the 2.0 framework, 2.0 and beyond, I should say, I think we can get an idea. At least I think I have an idea of how it could potentially work. Again, I'm not saying that it will work like this, but I'm saying that it could work like this in order to facilitate that same kind of hype, FOMO, and euphoria. So let's get to the hype, FOMO, and euphoria towards the end. I want to talk about the actual logistics in terms of the land infrastructure in which this would work. So let me go ahead and zoom in here. This is the, if you remember, this is from the first post of the white paper draft. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into this portion here, which talks about the ancient ruins, right, reconstruction project. And you can see the gemstones that are then sent out to the lapidary for polished gemstones, and they will be required for items and spell production. Now, you'll need these polished gemstones, as well as mana crystals, as well as whatever this is. Oh, elemental essences, and then enhanced potions, right? So all of this stuff, well, actually the potions I think are going to be an optional thing, but polished gemstones, mana crystals, and then elemental essences will all be required. So how does this work then? If we're talking about the gemstones, considering what we know about the current, or at least current plans for the ancient ruins reconstruction project. Well, if you remember, it's going to be open to everybody. You will not need to own any land in order to contribute to this. You will just need to stake, delegate a certain amount of staked SPS, and you'll get a certain multiplier on that. And you'll also need to stake monsters or unit cards. They'll have to be max level, and you will not need to own any land. But anybody can come in, right? They don't have to have any other cards in their account. They don't need to be playing the game. They can just come in, stake these two items, right? Stake SPS and stake the monster cards or the unit cards onto the Ancient Ruins Reconstruction Project in whatever territory they want, and they'll be able to get gemstones. So this only works if gemstones are so rare and so heavily needed that the price for them is absolutely bonkers. Because in this scenario, right, SPS and cards would kind of be like what DEC was in the past, right, for the SPS airdrop. And then gemstones would be the reward that you got for that, which was SPS, right? So people were holding a ton of DEC, so much DEC, and they were holding a ton of cards, right, in order to acquire the CP that was all contributing towards SPS airdrop points. So in that way, well, now you're going to need cards and you're going to need SPS, right? It serves that kind of DEC portion. So in a way, we could get into a position, again, assuming there's like hype, FOMO, and euphoria, we could get into that position if people come in and they're buying just tons of SPS and tons of cards off the marketplace in order to just get in on getting these gemstones, which are providing, stupid APR. Again, it would have to be so ridiculously high. I'm not even going to throw numbers out here because it wouldn't really matter. But, if you were to look at where the price of SPS is now, let's say you needed to stake like 1,000 SPS, right? And then you needed to buy a card, a max level card, let's say one of those penny common cards. Those go for $4. 1,000 SPS is like $30 right now. Let's say somebody came in and they put like, $35 into the game in order to participate in this. Well, the gemstones would need to be, again, something super high, right? Like if the gemstones that you're producing over the course of a year are 100% APR or 300% APR, right? Like that would be somewhat comparable to where we're at. Now, I don't know how many gemstones you'd need. I don't know what the price of gemstones would be going for, how many gemstones you'd be producing per hour, but you need to produce like, $35 worth of value over the course of a year is 100% APR, right? So if all of a sudden you're able to produce $100 of value over the course of a year, again, in a snapshot in time, that would give you that 300% APR, which is what a lot of people were enticed by when it came to holding DEC or holding cards way, way back in the day. Now, here's the thing. Will this or could this potentially lead to a point where cards and maybe even SPS are overpriced to a certain extent, right? Because keep in mind, SPS has way more utility than DEC did back in the day. If you remember back during the bull run, you could only really burn DEC for guilds or like guild upgrades, which were even, I don't think there's been much in terms of like guilds or there's no like new buildings added. It was all the same stuff back then. Whereas now you have energy, there's land, there's all these different things, right, that DEC allows for. With SPS, though, you will have SPS that you need to stake for the game itself. The SPS flywheel is currently in motion as we're seeing, right? You'll need to burn SPS for DEC if you want to go buy cards, and DEC is already a peg. Hopefully we, by whenever this comes out, we will have some version of Soul Keeper. You need to buy SPS and stake it or delegate it towards that game in order to earn there, right? So SPS has way more utility and could therefore see, something like this come in and have a bunch of people where it's just like, oh, I don't really care about the price of SPS. SPS is 15x its peg, which is where DEC was, right? 15x its peg. Well, sorry, SPS doesn't have a peg, but like SPS is like 15x up, and I'm just going to buy it because buying SPS and a card is going to get me these gemstones, and these gemstones are worth like gold, right? So again, that is the mechanism in which I can see this happening. That's just the basic infrastructure and the kind of the analogy one-to-one of like what would need to be, in the place of like DEC and SPS last time, it'll be SPS cards and gemstones this time. Now, again, only because it's open to everybody is where I think that it could have a lot of value. You don't need to own any land, so anybody could come in, spend a couple bucks, and hopefully it ends up just being a couple bucks where people are enticed to do so. Now, will this happen? I have no idea. And more importantly, what I'll close the video out on is the timeline for this. Now, obviously, I can't predict the future, but I think most people are somewhat optimistic that we are heading into a broader bull run with the Bitcoin halving. And usually what happens, at least over the last 3 cycles, is we've seen crazy amounts of like euphoria and a top for the market cycle somewhere between 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving. All right, well, the Bitcoin halving is about 3 months away in April of 2024. 12 to 18 months puts us in like, we'll just say like the second half, like April to October of 2025. Is the game going to be in a position where this will be ready? Land 2.0, right? We're still working on Land 1.6, for example, and I think we're going to do that for the first half of this year. Land 2.0, elements of it may start coming in the second half, but will it be done by then? And then more importantly, it's not just Land 2.0 because people are only going to want gemstones if they can do something with it, and you'll need to be able to create the items and spells. So when does this need to happen by? In my opinion, probably early 2025, right? Especially if the hype, FOMO, and everybody's just kind of going crazy, and 2025 starts paralleling 2021 and 2017 in similar ways. Can the team get it done in that time frame? I have no idea. I'm hopeful, right? But that's just kind of the time frame that we need to look at for this. Now, could it be done later on in the year, maybe the second half of 2025? Absolutely, right? Sometimes there's a long tail that ends up happening. People don't realize the bull run is over, but they're still spending money like they think it is. That could absolutely happen. I think we saw that happen in November, even into like January of like 2022, right? So November of 2021 into January of 2022. But again, this is just all speculation, all timeframes of when all this will actually end up happening. But the mechanism does exist. It just needs to be something where gemstones are so required. Maybe it's like you need 100 gemstones for like a single NFT like item and spell, and therefore, to produce a gemstone is just going to be so ridiculously expensive. Sorry, well, not ridiculously expensive, but it will create gemstones that are ridiculously expensive. So I don't know. That's just what's in my head. Obviously, thinking ahead to the bull run, being a little optimistic here, but wanted to share with you the basic infrastructure of how this would work if we were to get that quote-unquote SPS airdrop again within Splinterlands. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I have for you guys in this video. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.